Hello everybody, welcome to Nadia Collectibles. My name is Nadia. Thank you so much for being here. For today's video, we're going to be discussing how to buy resin statues. If you're new here, I've been collecting resin statues for about 2 years now, which might not seem like a lot of time. However, in that time, I've purchased quite a few resins. I have quite a few on pre-order as well, and I've been in the community for a while. I've made friends with a lot of people in the community. We've had debates, talks, all that stuff about resin statues. So for this video, I'll be sharing strictly from my perspective and the sites that I'm familiar with and what I just know, you know what I mean? So today we'll be going over the when, where, how, and what of resin collecting. So let's start with the when. So when should I purchase my first resin statue? 95% of the time, the best time to buy a resin statue is during the pre-order period. What is the pre-order period? The pre-order period is essentially when you can secure your spot for a resin statue. So let's take a look at an example. This resin statue just went up for pre-order today, so the pre-order period for this resin just started. This resin has an edition size of 100 pieces. The edition size is essentially the number of resins that will be produced for this particular piece. The pre-order period in most cases spans until the resin statue has been sold out. Most of the time, this period is determined by the case above, where there's no real set time that the resin will sell out. So if you want something, just make sure to buy it before it runs out of stock. Of course, there are exceptions here. There are some resin statues that have an edition size of TBD, to be determined, and there's no real way to know when this resin will run out of stock. In this case, I would suggest buying the resin within the first couple weeks that it went up for pre-order, just to ensure you secure your spot before the studio determines the edition size. The reason why I say the pre-order period is the best time to buy a resin is because 95% of the time this is when the resin will be the cheapest. There are some cases where this might not be the case. For example, a licensed statue that has a really high pre-order price. Sometimes from what I've seen, these resins kind of tank a little bit in the aftermarket because nobody wants to pay that much money. But of course, this is not always the case. So if there is a licensed statue that costs a lot of money and you want it, like you really want it, then pre-order it. That's my suggestion. It's really up to you to determine whether or not it's worth the risk. If you really want a resin that costs, let's say, $500 during the pre-order period and you don't have the $500 on you, we have payment options. So now we're going to get into the how of resin statues. There are generally 3 different payment options upon checkout on various sites. There is a deposit option, a payment plan option, and a full payment option. These options vary per site, however, they generally stay the same in terms of how they work. So right now we're going to go over what each option means, and then later we'll go over what sites offer which options. So first off, what is a deposit? A deposit is when you'll pay a fraction of the full payment now, and then whenever the resin is released, you'll pay the remaining balance plus shipping. Generally with resin statues, you will not pay shipping now or when you pay the full payment. You'll pay the shipment when the resin has been released. That's when they'll determine the box size and all that stuff and then be able to give you a shipping invoice. Okay, back to the deposit. Let's take a look at this resin statue. This is Prime 1 Studios 1/6 scale Guts. We're going to be looking at the regular version in this case. The full price for this resin is $619 on Fanatic Anime Store. If I scroll down to the bottom of the listing where it lists out the payment options and I select the deposit, the price changes to $179. So this is the deposit. This means that I will not have to pay the $619 now to secure my spot for this resin. I will just need to pay $179 today. And then whenever the resin is released, maybe 20 years from now, I'll have to find a way to cough up the remaining $440 plus shipping. This option is great for when you have a resin you really want to pre-order and secure your spot for, but you're not in the place to pay the full balance now. But in the future, of course, you'll be rich and famous, so you'll be able to pay off the remaining balance for that resin and the shipping cost. I found that this option is really great. However, it's not so great when it seems like all the studios sit down and have a coffee date together and decide to release all their resins at once. So now I have like 5, 6, 7 PayPal invoices of $500 that I have to pay all at once. It's so bad. So yeah, this option is great. I really recommend it if you just don't want to pay the full balance now, and in the future you'll be able to afford that resin whenever it is actually released. That's just how you secure your spot without having to pay anything else until the resin is released. So to go over everything again, the deposit means you'll be paying a fraction of the full payment now, and then whenever the resin is released, you'll pay the remaining balance plus shipping. So that's option 1. Option 2 is the payment plan option. With this option, you'll pay the deposit now, and then on a set date of each month following, you'll continue to pay off the partial payments of this resin until you finish paying off off the full balance. So let's take a look at an example. Here is Surge Studios 1/7 scale Naruto resin. We'll be taking a look at the EX version because that's a cooler one. The full payment for this resin is $529. The deposit that I'll have to pay now to secure my spot for this resin is $229. We're in September, right? So for this month, I'll be paying the deposit of $229. So all I have to pay for the month of September is the deposit. In this case, the payment plan option is broken down into installments of $100. So today in September, I'm paying $229. On the 15th of October, I'll be invoiced for $100. And then on the 15th of November, I'll be invoiced for another $100. And then in the 15th of December, I'll be invoiced for the last final $100. So in this case, for 3 months after the initial payment of the resin, I'll have finished paying off the remaining balance of the resin. Now that I've finished paying it off, the only thing I'll have to worry about in the future is the shipment balance. Whenever the resin is released, I'll be invoiced for just the shipping. This option is my personal favorite because it gets the bulk of the payment over with, and in the future, all I'm gonna have to worry about is just the shipping. So it kind of gets that like initial fear of, oh my gosh, how much am I gonna get invoiced whenever the resin is released? You know what I mean? So it's just really nice. It kind of gets it over with. So to go over everything again, for the payment plan option, I'll pay a fraction of the full payment now. And then on a set date of a set amount of months, I'll be invoiced for the remaining balance in installments until I finish paying off the balance of this resin. And then whenever the resin is released, the only thing I'll have to worry about is the shipping balance. So that's option 2. Option 3 is the full payment option. This option is for the people that got money. In this case, when I select the full payment option, I'll be paying the entire balance of the resin, excluding shipping. So the only thing I'll have to do if I select the full payment option is that in the future, I'll just have to pay the shipping balance. This is my least favorite option, but of course it's the most practical. A healthy spender would say, if you don't have the money now, don't buy it. But an unhealthy spender like myself would say, if it don't decline, I'm fine. So now that we've gone over the different payment options, let's go over what sites offer which options. The sites that we'll be taking a look at today are the only sites that I've experience with. There are of course a lot more sites that I'm sure are reliable, but I only have experience buying and receiving resin statues from the sites that we'll be talking about now. So that's all I can talk about today. There's resources that recommend different sites, of course, and we'll be discussing the resources at the end of this video. I'll also be including a lot of links to different sites in the description. So yeah, let's start with the first site. The first site we'll be discussing today is Fanatic Anime Store. You've heard me talk about them a lot. Most of the resin statues that I've ordered and received are from this site. I just love them a lot because they have the cheapest prices overall in terms of the actual price of the resin and the shipping cost. Another reason why I love them so much is because they offer all 3 payment options. So they have a deposit option, a payment plan option, and a full payment option. On their site, the deposit price is what you'll see as the preview price when you're scrolling through their listings. It's not the full balance. My sister learned the hard way. She ordered resin from their site thinking that whatever the deposit price was the entire balance that she had to pay, and she was sorely mistaken whenever she got invoiced for the resin. So yeah, if I want to see the full cost of the resin on their sites, I'm gonna have to scroll down to the payment options and then select the full payment option. At the top of the listing, you'll see what the actual price of the resin is. And then also if you scroll down below, if this resin has a regular or EX version, you'll see cost differences in the description of the listing itself. A really cool thing about their site now is that they've added a new feature at the bottom of each listing where they'll provide shipping estimates for each resin based on the area that you're located in. So that's really nice because I know a lot of people are scared to buy resins because of the really bad shipping prices. Another way that you can find out shipping estimates is by reaching out to customer support and asking like, hey, is there any way that you can provide me with a shipping estimate for this particular resin? You'll just include the title of the resin and all that stuff, and then they'll normally get back to you with a somewhat accurate shipping estimate. So let's go back to Fanatic Anime Store's listings. So another thing that we'll go over today is the reward systems for each particular store. So the reward system for Fanatic Anime Store is a bit tricky. It's pretty much based on how much you buy from their site. So to become a VIP member, you have to hit a certain amount of resins that you've purchased and received from them. From my understanding, you hit the VIP status once you've purchased and received 20 resins from their site. What you get from the VIP status is 1 to 2% off of each listing on their site. So the SVIP status, from my understanding, means you get 2 to 4% off of each resin on their site. So here's what a user that does not have the VIP status will see on their site. And then here's what the user with the VIP status will see on their site. So you'll pretty much just see that the prices are different when you're scrolling depending on whether or not you've hit that status. I know I think I got on the VIP status. I didn't get an email for it, so I wasn't even sure about it until I saw that the prices kind of changed when I was scrolling through their site, depending on whether or not I was logged in or not. Another really cool thing that Fanatic Anime Store has is their Black Friday sale. Last year, this Black Friday sale lasted from November 24th to November 30th. They had over 200 products discounted with free shipping, which is surreal when it comes to resin statues because shipping is a lot of the actual price of the resin. And then what they also included, which is similar to their VIP system, it was dependent on how many resins you've purchased and received from them. So they offered coupons. So how were the coupons determined? If you had over 15 orders with them in the year 2022, you received a $50 off coupon with them. And then if you had over 25 orders on their site in 2022, you received a $100 coupon. And then if you had over 35 resins ordered on their site in the year 2022, you got a $200 off coupon. For me, the year 2022 is when I really got into resin statues, so I was able to somehow qualify for that third one. So I got a $200 off coupon. I was literally like jaw dropped. It was crazy. And in that Black Friday sale, I was able to purchase my dream resin, something that I never would have been able to order otherwise. This was the 1-to-1 scale Attack Titan bust. You know, 1-to-1 scales are like super heavy and all that stuff. But with that Black Friday sale, this resin was included in the Black Friday section, so it already had free shipping and I was able to use that $200 coupon towards it. So yeah, the Black Friday sale is awesome. Of course, it takes a lot to be able to qualify for it. But even if you don't qualify for the coupons, it was really cool that all these resins had free shipping. Like, that's awesome. So yeah, that's another perk that Fanatic Anime Store has. So now let's talk about their customer service. They recently also added a new feature called live chat. Here you can chat with representatives in real time. It's really cool. If you have any questions about any of their listings, you can just go ahead and type something in and then get a response from somebody working at Fanatic Anime Store. Again, there are some resources that we'll discuss at the end of this video where you can contact them directly. So then let's get into aftercare from Fanatic Anime Store. So of course, one of the biggest risks when purchasing a resin statue is breakage during transit. So what does Fanatic Anime Store do to facilitate this risk? So from my experience, I've purchased some resins from their site that have come broken. Of course, this is not directly Fanatic Anime Store's fault. The studio that produces the resin is the one that's in charge of how they package the resin itself. So yeah, maybe if they didn't put like foam packaging and all that stuff, the resin is more susceptible to damage. So what I do in that case on Fanatic Anime Store is reach out to customer service with my order number, and then you need to take a lot of pictures of the resin and its damage and then forward that to Fanatic Anime Store, and then they'll determine whether or not you're eligible to get a replacement for whatever piece is broken. When it comes to replacements though, this isn't just specific to Fanatic Anime Store itself. The replacements come from the studio. So if the studio itself is bad and they don't have aftercare and they don't have replacement pieces ready for any buyers that have like a broken piece, then if I reach out to Fanatic Anime Store and they're not able to provide me with a replacement part, I can't blame Fanatic Anime Store for that, because it's really dependent on the studio itself. We'll go into like the good studios, bad studios, and all that stuff a little bit towards the end of the video. But yeah, the aftercare is really dependent on the studio itself. So in my experience, I've reached out to customer service, of course, took a bunch of pictures, said, hey, like my resin's broken, I'm really sad about it, like, can you guys send me a replacement? And they've gotten back to me within a couple days telling me like, oh, of course, like, we'll get your replacement piece sent out, no problem, it's covered, you don't have to pay shipping on the replacement, they just send it out, and then yeah, you get that replacement piece. So let's talk about their cancellation policy. So sorry, I messed up here, their policy is 14 days. Days of your purchase, you're able to get a full refund of your resin, including the deposit. But if you want to cancel something after the 10 days is finished, they will have to keep that deposit. And the reason why they keep that deposit is because when you purchase something, they send that money out to the studio to be able to secure your resin, and then also for the studio to be able to produce that extra piece. So just be sure when you buy something that you really want it, or at least think about it for 10 days and then be like, oh, I don't really want it that much, or you know what. Okay, so yeah, that pretty much sums up Fanatic Anime Store. Of course, there are a lot of features that I probably haven't touched on too much, but we're gonna move on to the next site, which is another site that I used to pre-order from a lot when I first started collecting resins. The site we'll be talking about is FavorGK. So I think it's kind of controversial to like FavorGK. However, I really like them. I know a lot of people have had really bad experiences with the shipping costs from their site. This is of course dependent on the location of that third-party distributor. So I don't know if it's really their fault, but at the same time, I haven't had that problem. I'm sure if it did happen to me, I'd probably not like them as much, but I've never ordered anything bigger than a 1/6 scale from them. Usually the pieces that I pre-order from them are less dynamic and like less complex. So the shipping costs have pretty much hit me the same way that a Fanatic Anime Store shipping invoice would hit me. I don't know, I just like them a lot because they've been really reliable to me and they package things really great. So yeah, I just like them. I don't know. So what does FavorGK offer in terms of payment options? FavorGK offers a deposit and a full payment option. These payments will work the same way as they do on Fanatic Anime Store, so we don't really need to go over that too much. But yeah, so they offer those two options, which is great. Another thing that FavorGK has is an early bird discount. With the early bird discount, I believe it spans for 10 days. When a resin goes up for pre-order, they discount the price by like $10, $20, depending on like how much that resin is. So yeah, it's really nice. It saves you a good chunk of change when you really want something and it just went up for pre-order. Just make sure you get in on it within the first 10 days that the resin went up for pre-order. In general, FavorGK offers a wide variety of things to choose from. They list things that maybe other sites wouldn't list, like chibi figures, art pieces and all that stuff. So it's really cool. It's really fun to just browse their site and go through all the listings and all that stuff. So yeah. Another thing that we'll talk about when it comes to FavorGK is the fact that there are now two sites for FavorGK. There's FavorGK and Figure Choice. Why is there two sites, you might ask? I don't really want to get into it too much, but pretty much on their original FavorGK site, a licensed studio decided to take them down and get rid of all their big three resins. So this includes like Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto resins. Everything was gone. And it was really sad. Their Facebook group got taken down and all that stuff. I really love their Facebook group and all the people in it. So I was really bummed out when that happened. But FavorGK was able to bounce back and open up a new site called Figure Choice. I believe this is the one that they're most active on. When I was scrolling through their site trying to get information, I noticed that the rewards program is located on this site instead of the normal FavorGK site. So pretty much Figure Choice offers all the big three resins and then everything else in between and outside of that. So let's get into their reward system. The reward system is really nice. When you sign up for Figure Choice and you create an account, you get 500 points towards the reward system. 1 point is equivalent to $1. So if I buy a $500 resin, I'm gonna get 500 points in return. So how are these points redeemed? 1,000 points on their site will get you a $10 off coupon. 2,500 points will get you a $25 off coupon. And then 5,000 points on their site will get you a $50 coupon. So yeah, I really like the reward system. It was really helpful when I was ordering a bunch of cheap stuff and I was able to get like $10 off. It's really nice that you can kind of see in real time where your money is being distributed. Going into their aftercare works pretty much the same as Fanatic Anime Store's aftercare, where you can reach out to them and get replacement parts. I know there was one case where I had to get a replacement part from FavorGK and they were able to help me within a timely manner, and they were super nice over email, so I really enjoyed talking to them. And yeah, so now let's get into their cancellation policy. Their cancellation policy is a 7-day span, so within the first 7 days that you placed your order, you're able to get a full refund for your resin, and then after 7 days they're going to keep that deposit again. FavorGK does not offer transfers, so you're not able to transfer money from one resin to another resin. The next site we're going to talk about is WeAreAnimeCollectors. I've just recently started purchasing from them. A lot of my mutuals promote for them. The owner is really nice from all the conversations I've had with him, so I really like their site. And yeah, they've been really popping off because they offer a lot of NSFW figures, which have been really popular lately. So yeah, I would recommend them because they're very communicative. They have like a Facebook group where a lot of people are talking. You just have a lot of people you can talk to within the community for WeAreAnimeCollectors. So what does WeAreAnimeCollectors offer? They have insurance, they have a deposit, and they have a full payment option. So what is insurance? Me personally, I've never purchased the insurance from their site when I buy a resin from them. Pretty much the cost of the insurance option is 10% of the total balance of that resin. I would recommend it if you buy anything over $300 or something like that on their site, just because there are some really cool perks when it comes to this option. There are levels that they cover with the insurance option. There's level 1, where the damage that occurred during transit for the resin that you purchased is able to be fixed with glue, but it's damaged. Here they'll offer a 15 to 20% refund on the resin. Level 2 is where the damage is obvious and it's not easy to repair. Here they'll offer you a refund of 25 to 40% of the full resin cost. Level 3 is where there's a large area damage where you're not able to repair this resin. Here's where they'll offer you 50 to 80% of the total cost of the resin. This is awesome because a lot of sites don't necessarily offer this. In most cases, you'll get a replacement piece for whatever piece broke. But here, if you'd like to try to figure out how to repair the resin yourself, you'll be able to get a significant amount of money back from whatever resin you order from their site. Of course, with the insurance, you have to take a bunch of pictures and send proof of damage and proof that it wasn't damaged by human touch like yourself. Don't be sneaky, pretty much is what I'm saying. The resin that I received from them didn't come with damage. They package everything really well. It has like corner pieces and foam on top. So yeah, they pretty much do everything they can to prevent this from happening, because who wants to buy something really expensive and then have it break in transit? Like, that sucks. Let's move on to the payment options that WeAreAnimeCollectors offers. So they offer a deposit and a full payment option. The deposit and full payment will work the same as it does on the other sites. They have huge variety sections. They also produce resins themselves. So yeah, really cool, I love them. Now let's get into the cancellation policy for WeAreAnimeCollectors. Customers can cancel orders 3 days from the purchase date in order to get a full refund. Anytime after that 3-day period, they'll keep the deposit because they sent it to the studio already. They also offer refunds for resins that were damaged during transit. In this case, the buyer will have to cover the shipping costs to return the resin. So yeah, that pretty much covers WeAreAnimeCollectors. We'll talk about some resources when it comes to talking with people within their community at the end of this video. But yeah, I really love their site. I would recommend them. They're really nice. There's a lot of people you can talk to. And yeah. So let's move on to the next site we'll be talking about, which is Kaionation. Kaionation, I think, is a really good site for beginner buyers. Why? Because they include shipping in the total balance of the resin. So when you pre-order something on their site, you will not have to worry about anything else when the resin is released. You will just have to worry about, when am I going to get this resin? You know what I mean? This is great because I know a lot of people worry about the shipping cost of a resin, but with their listings, you don't need to worry about that. It's already included in the price. So what payment options does Kaionation offer? When you scroll through their site, you're presented with 2 different payment options, a deposit and a full payment option. These work the same as stated before. However, there is an option that Kaionation offers that is not really offered by any other sites, and this is their installment payment. So with the installment payment, you'll reach out to somebody in customer support and ask them, hey, can I use an installment payment on this resin? So what they'll do is send you an invoice through PayPal where you'll pay the minimum payment that's required for that resin whenever they send it to you. But then after that, for the remaining balance, you can pay off the resin in chunks whenever you want until that resin is released. So like, let's say that they sent me a $500 invoice for a resin that costs $500. Today, I'll try to pay whatever the minimum requirement is for that invoice. And then whenever I feel like it, I can just continue putting money towards that invoice until I finish paying off that invoice. And then you'll notify Kaionation that you finished paying off that resin. And then yeah, you just have to wait for the studio to finish production on that resin, and then they'll send it out to you. So this is really awesome because it's a little bit different than the payment plan option, where with the payment plan option, you have a set day each month that you'll be invoiced for the chunks of the resin. In this case, it's really just dependent on you whenever you want to. Of course, it's easy to get carried away with this option and then just have like 7 invoices sitting in PayPal. Of course, have to pay the remaining balance like whenever they decide to hit you with it. So Kaionation will notify you whenever that resin is released, and then you'll have to finish paying off that invoice. So yeah, I really love that, especially because with that invoice, it already has shipping included in it. So you just have that in mind that what I'm paying now is literally everything for that resin. So what is their cancellation policy? Kaionation does not allow cancellations on their site. Yeah, that's something to keep in mind when you buy from them. Just can't cancel anything. They also don't facilitate transfers because I've already sent the money to that studio, as we talked about before when it comes to the cancellation policy. So now we're going to go over the what to buy when it comes to resin statues. There are generally 2 different types of resins. There are unlicensed resins and licensed resins. Unlicensed studios are essentially studios that don't have the licensing for whatever they're selling, and then licensed studios have the licensing for whatever it is they're selling. That's pretty much just a high-level breakdown of what the different options are. But yeah, controversial, but pretty much 90% of the resins that I own are unlicensed. Why? Because licensed resins are very expensive. Of course, when you purchase something that's licensed, it has licensing for whatever it is you're buying. Like if I buy a licensed Naruto resin, it's going to cost a lot more than an unlicensed Naruto resin. Generally, unlicensed resins are the cheaper option of the 2. And yeah, I've had some really good experiences with licensed resins. There are risks, of course, when it comes to unlicensed resins, especially when it comes to aftercare. When you buy unlicensed resins, make sure you do your research because there are some studios that don't provide aftercare where you might not get a replacement piece if something comes broken. Licensed studios, of course, you're paying a lot of money. They are very good with aftercare. They respond fast. They should have replacement pieces ready for anybody that had a damaged piece come in. So yeah, of course, the better of the 2, the licensed. If you support something, it feels really good to be able to support whatever it is you love. So when I buy a Naruto resin, I'm like, oh my god, I'm supporting Naruto. I'm so cool. You know what I mean? Another factor of unlicensed versus licensed is quality control. The quality control of a licensed statue is really good. They make sure that everything is produced exactly as it should be. Everything has to look good because it's a licensed studio. It's being put out. It's been approved by whatever the company is. With unlicensed studios, the quality control might not be that good. Why? Because it's not licensed. It's a lot cheaper. They might choose a cheaper factory to produce their resin, so the resin might not turn out like the prototype. Again, there's always a risk when it comes to unlicensed studios. The best thing to do when you want to purchase something is ask about it. Ask people in the Facebook groups, people that are in the community, ask me if you like, because I have a lot of experience with unlicensed studios. Like I said, 90% of my collection is unlicensed. Another option you have when you buy an unlicensed resin that's being produced by an unlicensed studio is to look for past works by the studio. Let's say, for example, I order something from Yo-Yo Studio, which I know is an unlicensed studio. I'll look at any past works that Yo-Yo Studio has done. They've done some really good stuff in the past, so I know if I pre-order something from them, it's probably going to be really good. Hopefully it's going to be really good. I really hope it's going to be really good, you know what I mean? But when it comes to licensed studios, you don't really have that risk as much because the licensed studios are reputable. They have to be reputable. They're licensed. I've seen some people think that unlicensed studios are essentially bootlegs. This is not really the case when it comes to resin statues. Maybe with PVC, yes, it generally would be a bootleg. If you buy something that has already been produced, but then you buy a version of this resin that was not produced by the initial person that made it, then yeah, that's a bootleg. But with resin statues, unlicensed doesn't necessarily mean that it is stolen property. Most of these unlicensed studios come up with their own concepts and their own ideas when it comes to whatever they're trying to make. So it's all original works. So you don't need to feel like that guilt that like, oh my God, I just bought a bootleg. Most of the time it's an original concept. So it's made by somebody, it's not licensed, but at the same time, it's not stolen. You know what I mean? Technically the characters are stolen, but it's different, you know? I'm just trying to make myself feel better because I know a lot of the pieces that I have are unlicensed. I do, of course, have some licensed pieces. Some licensed studios that are really good are Prime One Studios, really, of course, good. I have like a bunch of resins pre-ordered from them. Another good studio is Tri-Eagles. I have their One Punch Man resin, and then 3 Artisan Studios, really good. I have their Sakuna resin. And then I have a few other licensed resins on pre-order as well. But generally, I don't buy licensed because they're extremely expensive, and yeah. I like unlicensed studios too because some unlicensed studios might make resins of characters that have 0 figures. So like those are the cases where I'll buy something because I love figures. I'm a big figure collector. I collect a lot of things. I collect a lot of figures, and I really love the characters that I buy the figures of. I don't know. I'm probably gonna get frowned upon for my opinion, but at the same time, unlicensed studios have given me some of the coolest pieces that I have. Pretty much like all the resins that I have here that you can't really see because they're blurred out are unlicensed, and I love them. I think they look amazing. It's really cool to interact with these unlicensed studios. A lot of them have Facebook groups, and yeah, but of course, it's really feel good to buy something that is licensed and to have the money to be able to afford it. That's also really cool too. If you have the money to afford it, of course, licensed pieces are probably the better to buy. So it is recommended to buy licensed because it is supporting whatever it is you love. If it's Naruto, Bleach, all that stuff, to buy licensed resin is just better in general. If you are planning to buy an unlicensed resin, then just be sure to do your research. That's the most important thing. I can't emphasize it enough. I would not recommend buying an unlicensed resin statue from a studio that doesn't have any past works. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like I would ask around. A lot of people in this community are really willing to share the information that they know. So it's a really amazing community. I love being a part of it. I love answering questions anybody has. I love recommending studios that I really like. And yeah, it's just a really welcoming community and I really love it. So next we're going to go over the resources when it comes to resin statues and the resin statue community. A really good resource that I've discovered is Statue Senpai's Discord. He made a really cool Discord that has a lot of different outlets. In this Discord, you'll be able to communicate with a bunch of different third-party distributors. They have Fanatic Anime Store. They have like a bunch of different people that you can talk with directly and ask questions. They also have like a discussion area where you can ask questions to fellow collectors. They also have a couple channels with trusted sites versus untrusted sites where you can see which sites to buy from and which sites not to buy from. Again, I'm talking from my personal experience. Some of the sites that I've discussed in this video might be in one of the channels, but just talking from my experience, you know. I'll include a link below to join his Discord. If you're a new collector or if you just want to talk to more people in the community, it's just a really good resource to have. The next thing we're going to be talking about are all the Facebook groups that you can join when it comes to the resin community. I'll have all of these groups linked below. The groups are really good to join because if you pre-ordered something, a lot of these sites provide like updated pictures from the studio where the studio's in production. You'll see like your piece being made or something like that. They also post about which resins are new and stuff like that, so you can go and click the links and go pre-order stuff. And you can also post the resins that you have and be able to share what you love with the people in the community. And like I said, they're really nice. There's some really awesome people in the community. I've made a lot of friends through these Facebook groups. So the Facebook groups that I've joined in on and that you can talk with me in because I'm going to be in them are Anime Statues, Resin Fanatic, GK Resin Hobby, WeAreAnimeCollectors group, Anime Resin Collectors, the 18+ WeAreAnimeCollectors group, Fanatic Anime Statue Collectors, Kaionation Resin Store, Statue Scammers, and Buyer Beware, and the FavorGK Hub. The Fanatic Anime Store statue group is good to join because you can see in real time what resins are getting put up for pre-order. You can also talk with other people that have purchased from their site and just ask around about what studios are reputable and stuff like that. They're also very active in that group, so you'll always constantly be seeing a stream of new resins coming up, or like pictures of resin that people have received that you might be interested in. It's just really cool to be able to interact with the other people in the community and also interact with the people that represent Fanatic Anime Store. With their Facebook group, you can also reach out and DM them and ask them about any orders that you have or any questions that you have, whether or not a resin that's out of stock might come in stock. You can just ask whatever you want in that Facebook group. It's also really nice to share what you own and to be able to have people comment and be like, oh my god, that's really cool, and then you just feel better about what you ordered, you know what I mean? So yeah. The Fanatic Anime Statue group is really cool. I love it. Next, we'll talk about the WeAreAnimeCollectors group. People are extremely active in that group, and WeAreAnimeCollectors themselves post a lot in that group about like revisions that they're making on resins, new things that they have up for pre-order, and all that stuff. So it's a really cool group to join. Anime Statues, Resin Fanatics, and GK Resin Hobby are some really good groups to join just to be able to see what new things are being put up for pre-order. These Facebook groups are really nice because a lot of people post their stuff that they got in, and then you can see like what they ordered and like cool things and all that stuff, and also just ask questions in these groups. They're not directly related to any sites like third parties or anything. They're really just Facebook groups to be able to share knowledge and share what you own. So I would really recommend them to people that are interested in the hobby because you can gain a lot of knowledge just by simply being in these groups and reading what people are posting. The Statue Scammers and Buyer Beware group is really good to join if you're planning on purchasing secondhand, because here's where people are going to post their own experiences with scammers. You can stay away from the people that they're talking about in their posts. They have a Buyers Beware section too, where they talk about buyers that are like scammy too, because there is a lot of risk when it comes to selling your own resin statues. A lot of people are not truthful and they'll like try and get a refund or charge back and stuff like that. So this Facebook group is really good to be in on, just to be able to be aware of like who's a scammer and what's like not a good place to buy from. I'll also be including down below some Facebook groups to join for actual studios. Hellllooooo Collectibles is one of my favorite studios. They have their own Facebook group. I joined it to be able to see like production updates of whatever it is I ordered from them that they're working on. So it's really cool to be there and be able to interact directly with the studios themselves. The FavorGK Hub is really cool too. It's a licensed studio and you're able to see in real time updates of their resin statues as well. And then a lot of people that are like dedicated Figurama collectors are posting in there, and you can ask them any questions that you'd like about their pieces if you're planning to buy it. Being that they are licensed, they are very expensive. I know I pre-ordered my first resin from them, which was the Revi 1/4 scale, and I was able to like see all their posts in like real time whenever that resin was going to go out of stock. So I made sure to get in on it because they're posting updates whenever they were selling the resin and how much were getting sold out and how many were left in stock. So these are all the resources that I have to share. I'll include, of course, everything down below so you're able to click on it and join the Facebook groups. The links below are invite links, so when you click the link, you're able to just join the Facebook groups and then interact with the people in them. So it's really cool. Like I said, the people in the community are just awesome. They're very welcoming and willing to answer questions. I really love talking about resin statues. I have a lot, and I have a lot on pre-order, and I have some bad and good experiences that I'd love to share with you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful in any way. If you have any questions about any topics that I didn't touch upon today, just leave them down below. I could make, of course, another video expanding on any subjects that you want to learn more about. Just please let me know. I love answering the questions, and I really appreciate your time in watching this video. I'm sorry again for being so MIA. Life just kind of, you know, life. It's just crazy. So yeah, I just haven't been able to post as much, but really do appreciate you viewing this video and watching this video. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye!